Hi boys, I hope you studied the story quality in the last class and you enjoyed it, but you studied only half, and today we are going to complete this story by John Galsworthy. Quality is the name of the story. This is a very touching story of a German shoemaker whose name was Mr. Gisler, and he used to make shoes on order. He made such beautiful, wonderful shoes that they lasted very long and they fitted very well. So once the author went to him and put a complaint that one pair of shoes creaked, which he made the last time. The shoemaker was taken for a shock because he never made such shoes. He gave one reason, that the author must have started wearing the shoes when they were wet. But he said no, it was not this case. So the shoemaker said, bring them to me, I will look at them. Either I'll do something about them, means mend them, or I will adjust them in your bill. So we go ahead and read the rest of the story. I'd urge you there, he said. Those big worms have no self-respect. And then, as if something had given way within him, he spoke long and bitterly. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the conditions and hardships of his trade. So this comes from the shoemaker when he saw the narrator wearing a pair of shoes which were not made by him, and the shoes he was wearing were purchased from some big firm in the market, and those hurt him at some place, and the narrator was really wondering how could he make out where they pinched, because the shoemaker put his finger and pointed that here they hurt you, and he said, I hurt you there, means these shoes hurt you there. He said, those big firms have no self-respect. Those big firms, he talked about the big firms, big companies, those big firms have no self-respect. See, this kind of English you don't find otherwise. It is not standard English. This is English spoken in German accent. That is why it is written like this. All these inverted commas show his direct words which are spoken in German accent. So he says that those big firms have no self-respect. And then why does he say they have no self-respect? Because they don't maintain their quality. They charge high, but they don't give quality products. And then, as if something had given way within him, he spoke long and bitterly. I mean, as if something had given way within him, as if he was motivated to say something from within, from his heart, and he spoke long and bitterly. He spoke for a long time, and what he talked was bitterness against those big firms. Why did he have this bitterness against big firms? I think you can understand that these big firms always took away his business because they provided things instantly. Whenever people wanted to buy, things were ready, but they were not things of quality. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the conditions and hardships of his trade. I mean, for the first time I heard him talking discussing the conditions, the problems he was facing, and the hardships of his trade, the difficulties of his business of shoemaking. Let's go ahead. They get it all, he said, they get it by advertisement, not by work. They take it away from us who love our boots. I would want to this. Presently I have no work. Every year I'd get less, you will see. And looking at his lined face, I saw things I had never noticed before. Bitter things and bitter struggle, and what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. So what did he say? They get it all. They get it all. Who is they? They is the big firms, big companies. So they get it all. They get it all. What is it? It is the business. So he said they get it all. They get all the business. They get it by advertisement, not by work. Means they attract people by advertisement and not by the quality of their work. Their work is not so good. It's not a quality work. They take it away from us. Means they take all the business away from us who love our boots. Love is love. Who love our boots. We love making boots because he was very passionate about making boots, making shoes. And he made boots with so much of passion that they fitted very well and they lasted very long. So he says they take away our business who love our boots. It comes to this. It comes to this means it boils down to this, or it comes to this. Means this in short. In short, presently I have no work. I mean, because of these firms, the result is I have no work. I'm out of work. Every year it gets less. It gets less. The work gets less every year because these big firms are growing. You will see that every year I get less. I would get less work. And looking at his lined face, I saw things I had never noticed before. Lined face is wrinkled face. His face had wrinkles, and looking at his face, I noticed something which I had never noticed before. Bitter things, bitterness, bitter struggle. The struggle which was very difficult for him. And what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. And the narrator, the author, suddenly noticed lot of grey hair in his red beard. And grey hair are the sign of stress, tension. So suddenly I noticed that tension which he was going through, that pain, that suffering which he had at the moment. Let's read further. As best I could, I explained the circumstances of those ill-omened boots. But his face and voice made so deep an impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. They lasted longer than ever, and I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. He says, as best I could, I explained. The author tried to explain the circumstances, the condition under which those ill-omened boots were purchased. Ill-omened boots. Ill-omened, which did not bring him good luck. So those boots, because they hurt him very badly, they pinched him badly. So he tried to explain the circumstances, the conditions under which he had to buy those boots in hurry. But his face and voice made very deep impression, and such deep impression they made on the author that for the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. The author said, I ordered many pairs. He, out of guilt. Why did he order many pairs? He was guilty that he had purchased a pair of boots from outside. Since they were not good shoes, he was guilty because it gave pain to the shoemaker. He made his shoes with lot of love and dedication. So, out of his guilt, he ordered many pairs of shoes. And since he made such, durable shoes, they lasted longer than ever. They lasted for a very, very long time. And I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. For 2 years, I had no need to buy new shoes. That is why he didn't go to him for nearly 2 years. It was many months before my next visit to his shop. This time it appeared to be his elder brother, handling a piece of leather. It was many months before my next visit to his shop. So the author went to his shoes after a long time, more than 2 years. And this time he says it appeared to be his elder brother. He felt that his elder brother was handling the piece of leather. Well, Mr. Gisler, I said, how are you? He came close and peered at me. I am pretty well, he said slowly, but my elder brother is dead. See, the narrator thought that this was elder brother. And he said, when he was asked how he was, he said, I am pretty good, pretty well. I am pretty well means pretty well. I am very well. But he said, but my elder brother is dead. He is no more. Whereas the author thought that it was the elder brother. So, why did he think it was the elder brother? You can very well imagine, because this younger brother he was looking older. In 2 years' time, he looked much older. That is why he felt it was his elder brother. But it was younger brother only. And I saw that it was indeed himself, but how aged and wan. And never before had I heard him mention his brother. Much shocked, I murmured, oh, I am sorry. And I saw that it was indeed himself. Then I recognized that it was Mr. Gisler, younger Gisler. But how aged and wan. How aged he looked, how weak he looked. It was shocking. And never before had I heard him mention his brother. Earlier he had never talked of his brother. I was shocked, much shocked. I murmured. I could hardly speak. The author could hardly speak, and he said, oh, I am sorry. Yes, he answered. He was a good man. He made a good boot, but he is dead. And he touched the top of his head, where the hair had suddenly gone, as thin as it had been on that of his poor brother, to indicate, I suppose, the cause of his death. Do you want any boots? And he held up the leather in his hand. It's a beautiful piece. So, when the author said, oh, I'm so sorry, he said, yes, he was a good man. My brother was a good man, and he made good boots. He made very good shoes, but he is dead. And then he touched the top of his head. He touched the top of his head to show where the hair had suddenly gone as thin as it had been on that of his poor brother. See, his elder brother he also had very thin hair on his head, and now his hair also had grown thin. Thin means he had lost his hair. So when he put his hand on his head, it was to show that this was the reason of his death, to indicate, I suppose, the cause of his death. What was the cause of his death? The poverty, overhead cost, the expenses, the cause of his death. Do you want any boots? He asked. Do you need any boots, any shoes? And he held up the leather in his hand. He had a piece of leather in his hand, and he said, it's a beautiful piece. We go ahead. I ordered several pairs. It was very long before they came, but they were better than ever. One simply could not wear them out, and soon after that I went abroad. So the author says that he ordered many pairs of shoes. It was very long before they came, means it took very long time to get them. That means since he was all alone, Gessler was all alone, he took a long time to complete the order, but they were better than ever. I mean, he had never got better shoes than those. One simply could not wear them out. I mean, they were so sturdy, they were so strong or durable that one could not wear them out or tear them or break them. And soon after I went abroad. He went to a foreign country. Now, what happens next in the story? It was over a year before I was again in London. And the first shop I went to was my old friend's. I had left a man of 60. I came back to one of 75, pinched and worn, who genuinely this time did not at first know me. He says, it was over a year before I was again in London. See, within a year I was again back to London. And the first shop I visited was the shop of my friend, that is old friend, the shoemaker. I had left a man of 60. I mean, when I had left about a year back, he was 60 years old, and I came back to one of 75. What does it mean? He, in 1 year only, he had grown so old that he looked like 75 years old. Pinched and worn. Pinched means he had become very weak, dried up, and he had lost a lot of weight, and he looked very weak. Who genuinely this time did not at first know me. I mean, when I went to him, he did not recognize me in the first go. So this was shocking. His condition was really bad. Why? Because in 1 year he had grown 15 years older. That was very painful for the author. Do you want any boots? He said. I can make them quickly. It is a slack time. He said, do you want any boots? Do you need any shoes? I can make them quickly. I'll make them fast. It's a slack time. Slack time, slack time. That is when there is hardly any business. There were no orders. He was without work. So he said, if you want boots, I will make them very quickly. I answered, please, please, I want boots all around, every kind. Means all types of boots I want. Please make. I had given those boots up when one evening they came. One by one I tried them on. In shape and fit, in finish and quality of leather, they were the best he had ever made. I flew down the stairs, wrote a check and posted it at once with my own hand. So he says, I had given those boots up, means I had given the order of those shoes. No, I had given those boots up, means I had even forgotten those boots when I got one evening. They came to me one evening, I had even forgotten. One by one, I tried them on. I tried wearing those shoes one by one, in shape and fit, in finish and quality of leather. I mean, shape, finish, quality, they were the best shoes that he had ever made. I flew downstairs. I went down immediately, wrote a check and posted it at once with my own hand. I posted a check for the shoemaker because he was so happy with the quality of shoes. Thought they would never come, given those boots up. Now, a week later, passing the little street, I thought I would go in and tell him how splendidly the new boots fitted. But when I came to where his shop had been, his name was gone. The author came there about a week later, after a week, and while passing the street, he thought of complimenting the shoemaker or appreciating him, giving him a good word that how splendidly, how grandly, how beautifully he had made new boots, how they fitted. But when I came to that place where his shop was, his name was gone. His name was not there. I went in very much disturbed. In the shop there was a young man with an English face. So he went in and he was very disturbed because he didn't see that Jessler name in the shop. And he found a young man with an English face. So this man was not the same. Mr. Jessler in? I said. Means he asked that is Mr. Jessler in? No, sir, he said. No, but we can attend to anything with pleasure. We have taken the shop over. That anything you need, we can do that. We have taken over this shop. We are the owners. Yes, I said, but Mr. Jessler, he wanted to know. Mr. Jessler? Oh, he answered, dead. Oh, dead. He is no more. Dead, but I only received these boots from him last Wednesday week. That just a week back I received these shoes from him. Ah, he said, poor old man starved himself. Slow starvation, the doctor called it. Oh, you see, he went to work in such a way, would keep the shop on, wouldn't have a soul touch his boots except himself. When he got an order, it took him such a time, people won't wait, he lost everybody, and there he would sit going on and on. I will say that for him, not a man in London made a better boot, but look at the competition. He never advertised. Would have the best leather too, and do it all himself. Well, there it is. What could you expect with his ideas? Ah, he said. So when the author said that I saw him only last week, I got my boots only last week, he said, poor old man starved himself. He died, he remained hungry. Slow starvation. He did not eat properly. He did not get food. The doctor called it. The doctor said it was slow starvation. You see, he went to work in such a way. He worked so hard, would keep the shop on. His shop was open all the time, wouldn't have a soul touch his boots except himself. Whatever shoes he had to make, he would not allow anybody to touch those shoes. He will make everything himself. When he got an order, it took him such a time. When he got any shoes on order, he took a very long time because he made everything himself. People won't wait. So because he took such a long time, people didn't like to wait after ordering. So he lost everybody. Gradually they started, going to some other places. And there he would sit going on and on. He would keep making a pair of shoes for a long time. I'll say that for him, not a man in London made a better boat. That man said that for him I can vouch that there is not a single man in London who made better boots than him. But look at the competition. Competition is so much. He never advertised. Nobody knew about him. Would have the best leather too. He used the best leather, best material, and do it all by himself. He himself made everything. Well, there it is. What could you expect with this, with his ideas? I mean, with this kind of ideas, what would you expect? He is gone. But starvation? I mean, he died hungry? That may be a bit flowery, as the saying is. But I know myself he was sitting over his boots day and night to the very last. You see, I used to watch him. Never gave himself time to eat, never had a penny in the house. All went in rent and leather. How he lived so long I don't know. He regularly let his fire go out. He was a character, but he made good boots. So he said that may be a bit flowery. Flowery means that is still very refined language to use for him, as the saying is. But I know myself he was sitting over his boots day and night. Sitting over his boots means making his boots day and night. To the very last, you see. Till the last moment of his life he was making shoes. I used to watch him. I used to watch him making shoes. Never gave himself time to eat. He did not even eat. He didn't have proper food. Never had a penny in the house. He had no money. Whatever he had, all went in rent and leather. Rent of the shop and the leather. Everything went in that. How he lived so long, I don't know. How he survived. He regularly let his fire go out. I mean, regularly he allowed his fire, that energy, to go out, to burn out. He was a character, a strong character, a different character, but he made very good boots. So that is the end of the story. Yes, I said he made good boots. Right? Now, working with the text we will do in the next class. Right? So, because it will be too long for you. Now you can read this story again, write all the difficult words in your notebook, right, and try to answer those questions which are given in the book. Okay, if you are write them in your rough notebook. When you are through, then you read the next part so that you get the answers. You can confirm whether your answers are right. Those who can write themselves, they can write their own. Those who cannot write, they can write given by me. In the next class, I'll give you the question answers. By then, I hope you enjoyed the story.